Everyone loves Manaphy. It's adorable, bubbly, and had a unique way of obtaining it back in the days of Diamond and Pearl. But despite this, I've had a hard experience with Manaphy that's made it difficult to like it years later. The story dates back a very long time, back to that nostalgic era. I pushed it to the back of my mind, but I recently found the old pictures I took regarding this awful experience. So let's look over these pictures together as I give context to what I remember. Before I get into what happened, I should start with how it happened. Back as a kid, before the days of Pokemon Platinum, all I had was my Diamond version. It was one of my first Pokemon games I beat. But rather than testing my own skills and playing through an honest challenge, I instead relied on the unholy powers of the infamous Action Replay. Rare candy codes, Pokemon modifier codes, wild shiny Pokemon codes, walk-through walls, this thing had it all. It was too much power for my frail, naive, 10-year-old mind to possess. Blissfully unaware of what consequences would become of me in my game, I caught shiny level 100 Pokemon until the game lost its true meaning. Now, there were event items that would let you fight the in-game Darkrai, Shaman, and Arceus. Arceus seemed like the most epic Pokemon for me to challenge, by which I mean Master Ball, because at the time I could just walk through walls to get both Shaman and Darkrai, but not Arceus. I would have to type in a code to get that Azure Flute. Whatever code I found though, it must have been a lengthy one. I don't know how code execution works, but if there's one thing I learned from all this, it's that one mistake in writing it could cause the whole code to blow apart. I learned the hard way that I had entered the Azure Flute code incorrectly. I walked into the Pokemart and talked to the man in green. The gift was my game freezing before I could obtain the Azure Flute. Thanks, guy. Consequently, there was no way to make this man go away until I received the gift. But if the game froze every time I spoke to him, it meant I could no longer receive any mystery gifts. From what I recall, turning off the game didn't fix the problem. This game-freezing gift was already injected into my save file, and there was no way to undo it without starting over from the beginning. But at the time, I didn't understand that. I guess I had hoped my game would push the older mystery gifts back and give me newer ones first. I still cringe at this logic years later. Enter Pokemon Ranger, a well-known spin-off game that people bought for one purpose: to complete the Manaphy Egg side quest and distribute it to their copy of either Diamond or Pearl. Recalling what I did next, I desperately wished that I had a copy of Pearl at the time so that it could have been avoided. I sent the mystery egg over to the copy of Diamond with the broken mystery gift man. One might call it karma when my game inevitably froze again when speaking to the man, but I just call it tragic. Refusing to come to terms with my loss, I still kept the save file for some time, until I eventually cheated so much that I made the game virtually unplayable. Reaching a stage of acceptance, I nuked the save file, along with my legit unborn Manaphy. Having to live with the loss of my hacked shinies, and most importantly, my Manaphy, I decided I wouldn't use any more Action Replay codes. I'd be clean. Just kidding. Not even halfway through the game's story, I relapsed on my cheating habits. I felt entitled to reclaim my lost Manaphy. I couldn't just transfer another one for my Ranger copy, as it only distributes one egg per cartridge, and I didn't want to just buy another copy and play through its story again. I had an option that wouldn't cost me a penny. I scoured the internet for a Manaphy Egg code, and with very little effort, I found it and carefully put it in. I was surprised and ecstatic to see that it seemingly worked successfully, as the man gave me a Manaphy Egg. I saved the game without thinking, since I planned on turning off my system to remove the Action Replay. When I turned the game back on and went to look at my newly obtained egg, I realized my mistake. It was a bad Manaphy Egg. Now, most sensible people would probably do these 3 things in this situation. 1. Try a different Manaphy egg code. 2. Quarantine the egg in an empty box to make sure it doesn't contaminate anything. 3. Cut my losses with the save file and start again. But I was not most sensible people. I was 10 years old, and I didn't understand common sense. Maybe this is part of the code, I thought. Maybe I could still hatch it. It made sense at the time, since it said that the egg was close to hatching, right? About an hour of biking around later, nothing happened. The game was downright lying to me. Feeling impatient, I decided to look for an instant egg hatching code. I found one that seemed promising, so I entered it and started biking again. A few steps later, it hatched. At first, I gasped in shock once I saw the poor thing. I had messed up bad. Now, again, most sensible people would have turned the game off at the sight of this thing, but my 10-year-old self saw this as a researching opportunity. Like a child who encountered a missing no by accident, I was enamored with the glitchy Manaphy instead of concerned about my save file. I threw this red flag out the window and went to nickname it. Manaphytus. At least past me had a sense of humor about the situation. I foolishly saved my game after this, under the assumption that it might cause my game to freeze, so I wouldn't have to hatch it again. But if I'm honest with you, I probably should have kept it as an egg. I went to investigate the deformed baby, but to my confusion, the game wouldn't even let me hover over it. The game treated the Manaphy like it wasn't even there, skipping over straight to the cancel button. But I wasn't out of ideas on how to investigate my baby glitch. Maybe the PC would give me better results. It wouldn't actually let me interact with the Manaphy. I couldn't pick it up. I couldn't check its summary. Nothing happened. Instead, upon pressing A message appeared. Oh, sweet mother of Arceus. This thing thought I was its mama. I pressed the A button again and it advanced the text. It was hungry? I was taken aback by this unusual text. What sort of glitch Pokemon was this? How was I supposed to feed it anyway? It wouldn't even let me interact with it. But then I had an idea. Maybe switching the Manaphy with another Pokemon would let me interact with it. It didn't make Manaphy switch with the Bidoof. Instead, I ended up placing the Bidoof in Manaphy's spot, and it changed colors. I panicked for a moment, thinking I'd made the Manaphy disappear. When I picked it up again, the Manaphy was still gone, leaving an imprint of the glitchy Bidoof's sprite. But when I went to check my Bidoof again, I noticed the glitchy text box that had Manaphytus' name. I could view its summary, so I checked it out. And I was very surprised to see the Manaphy summary, and not the Bidoof's. The first thing I noticed was a very distinct shiny star. I hadn't used any codes to make my Pokemon shiny since my last playthrough, so my first conclusion was that this was a full odds 1 in a 8,192 glitchy shiny Manaphy. I found myself giddy with excitement, which only reinforced my curiosity toward this thing. It still had that strange date met, just like when it was an egg. Its nature was hardy, and its characteristics was loves to eat. Guess that explains why it's so hungry. Its level was 0 instead of 1. In fact, all of its stats were 0 and it had no ability. The thing seemed utterly helpless. It didn't have any moves either, which I thought was really weird. It made me curious how this thing would behave in battle, if the game would let me even do that. It was at this point where I noticed the Manaphy became tangible, but the Bidoof I swapped Manaphy with was nowhere in sight. I came to the conclusion that Manaphy had absorbed the poor creature into its horrible, glitchy body. I'd grieve for it later, though. There was science to be done. I switched Manaphy to the front of my party and attempted to remove Monferno from my team. It wouldn't let me, though. I must have thought, oh duh, of course, it's because the Manaphy has fainted. So I went to heal it, and decided that it might be good to keep the rest of my team in my party to cover for this defenseless baby anyway. I went into the tall grass and was pleasantly surprised to see the Manaphy get sent out. I took a moment to appreciate the shiny sparkles, feeling an excited childish whimsy when I saw them. The text was glitchy, which I thought was really weird. I pressed fight because I wanted to know what happened when Manaphy attacked with no moves. A startling amount of question marks appeared before telling me the Manaphy had no moves left. What I didn't expect, though, was that the Starly failed to land a hit on my Manaphy. My Manaphy didn't get a turn to attack, and the battle ended. To my surprise, all but one of my Pokeballs disappeared when the nurse healed my Pokemon. I tried to open my party menu after she was finished, but the game just froze on a black screen. I was forced to reset. In the name of curiosity, I did the same thing again and decided I would check the PC instead of my party. The battle went the same, except that this line replaced the "has no moves left" line from the last battle. I was stunned and confused the whole time, and quickly mashed through text to make it to the PC, the only place I could view this bizarre glitchy Manaphy. My entire team had turned into bad eggs at this point. I panicked, realizing that this glitchy Manaphy wasn't as cool or harmless as Missing No, like I had made it out to be. If I put any other Pokemon into the team and head into a battle, the Manaphy would probably turn them into bad eggs too. The game would be unplayable at that point. I hovered over the Manaphy and got this familiar text again. Still trying to save grace, and my save file, I got the morbid idea to sacrifice another Pokemon to the Manaphy to let me interact with it again and let me release it. But it didn't work. The Bidoof's palette glitched and was forced to the back of the party, and it wouldn't let me pick up the Manaphy like before. Hovering over the Bidoof showed that it was just a bad egg, and the Bidoof was gone. As I went to pick up another Pokemon to try again, the glitchy sacrificed Bidoof lingered in the box like a ghost, following me to whatever box I went to. As desperation kicked in, I kept feeding it every single Pokemon in the box. After my B-barrel was devoured, I ran out of Pokemon to feed the Manaphy. But the beast wasn't satisfied. I decided to turn the game off, to at least get the Pokemon I lost back. I booted up the PC again to check where my progress was. To my relief, the Manaphy was once again at the back of my party. Alas, the needy little creature was still unsatisfied. As I prepared the sacrificial Bidoof, I thought to myself about how relieved I would be to have it gone. As I selected the Manaphy, it displayed affection dialogue with glitchy hearts filling the whole text box. I will admit, even looking back at these pictures now, it puts a pit in my stomach. But I swallowed my nerves and chose to release it. No, I'm not your mama. Instead of releasing the Manaphy, it displayed this text, and promptly booted me off the PC. Reacting with obvious frustration, I went to boot up the PC again so I could release this abomination for good. It wasn't pretty. All of my Pokemon, party and PC, were replaced by bad eggs. My party members, while bad eggs, had these lovely names. But the worst of it had to be Manaphy itself. Manaphytus was now an unrecognizable mess of pixels. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't a Manaphy anymore. I finally did the sensible thing and turned the game off. I'd had enough of the terror. I decided a couple of days later to delete the save file. I'd only made it to Salacion Town anyway, so deleting the file was no skin off my nose. I decided to stop playing Diamond altogether. Platinum would be coming out soon, and I wanted to spend my energy on that game instead. I played through the whole thing completely action replay free. I was done with cheating for good. I promised myself to be completely clean for the rest of my Pokemon career. So, recently, I wanted to pick up the Sinnoh games again, for nostalgia's sake. I didn't want to erase my Platinum save, however, so I turned to my erased Diamond cartridge. I half expected Manaphytus to still be in my party, staring me down. But the game was completely normal. Until I went into the Pokemart in Sandgem Town, that is. The delivery man was there. Cautiously, I spoke to the man. And do you want to guess what that gift was? It was a bad Manaphy Egg.